Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Mind Power Meets Mystic. I'm Michelle Walters, and I'm the Mind Power junkie of this particular podcast. And I am joined this week and most weeks by my wonderful podcast pal, Cynthia Varkevisser, who is our show mystic. We are continuing on our journey of talking about chakras and people who have businesses that relate to them. And today's guest is our friend, Srinika Narayan. Srinika is a nutritional analyst and licensed acupuncturist who uses applied kinesiology, we'll talk more about that, testing to identify root causes of health issues. She specializes in chronic conditions, autoimmune disease, and undiagnosable stubborn health issues. Srinika has been practicing nutritional analysis and acupuncture since 2002. In her free time, Srinika enjoys playing tennis and visiting hot springs. She also enjoys reading and writing blogs. She frequently teaches muscle testing classes as well as Zoom seminars on various health issues. Welcome, Srinika. We're so excited to have you this week on Mind Power Meets Mystic.
Thank you so much, Michelle and Cynthia.
Tell us all this amazing stuff. Can you tell us on your health journey? Did you start as acupuncture? How did everything come about? And how did it all kind of smush together? I love that you do muscle testing and that you have background in
In
acupuncture.
acupuncture, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when I was in my 20s, I had acupuncture done and I really liked it. It just made me feel good. I didn't have a very specific health issue then, being in my 20s. There was nothing huge going on, but I loved it. And I liked my acupuncturist a lot. And so I decided to go into that field. I was kind of looking for what was my next steps, what was I going to have a career in. So I went to acupuncture school and graduated 2002, and then became an acupuncturist, and worked at that for, I still work as that, but worked at that for many years. And Michelle, I think you had said I'd done applied kinesiology from 2002, but actually it was more about 2010 that I started to branch out into applied kinesiology. Applied kinesiology and nutritional analysis, I'll just use those words interchangeably. Nutritional analysis uses the method of applied kinesiology. But I start to branch out into that because I start to get a health issue, a digestive issue that was getting worse and worse and not going away over the course of a year. It was like this gagging kind of sensation in the morning. And I tried different methods. I went to different types of practitioners, of course, traditional Chinese medicine, but also a lot of other practitioners. No one could really figure out what it was. Blood tests weren't coming up with anything. Then I went to someone who practiced applied kinesiology upon recommendation of a friend, and I'd heard of it before. I kind of thought to myself, well, applied kinesiology is kind of bunk. It's not real. It can't work. It's very subjective. But I was kind of like, there's nothing else working. So I went to see her, and she figured out very quickly that basically my issue was artificial sweetener in my diet. And I thought to myself, yeah, this method really is bunk. I don't have any artificial sweetener in my diet. However, when I went home, I looked at everything I was eating, and had been doing this protein powder for daily for the course of a year. And in those ingredients, it said sucralose in small little print, and I didn't even know what that was at the time. Then I looked up what is sucralose. Basically, it's Splenda. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've been poisoning myself with this for daily for a year. Looking back, I kind of feel like, oh my God, how did I not know? But at the time, I was somewhat naive. I thought if something had artificial sweetener on it, it would say so in big, bold letters right on the title. But that's just not the case. So I stopped ingesting, I stopped taking that, and I took some supplements just to clean out my liver a little faster than it would have without them. And I was better within a week. I could feel the gagging was
Wow.
gone. My head was much clearer. And then I realized, wow, if this is happening to me, this must be happening across the board in some way or another to a lot of people. This method was like magic. It helped me figure out what was going on. I want to go into it. So I started to take classes in applied kinesiology and started to just practice on my acupuncture clients and start realizing I could help people a lot more, basically, by being a detective and figuring out exactly what was going on and
So
telling them,
Shrinika, I'm gonna
yeah,
put a little pause here
yes,
because I am not 100% sure that everyone listening to our podcast knows what is applied kinesiology. So
yes.
so let's make sure we don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but let's describe what that is so people understand what is this amazing tool.
Okay, yes, thank you. So basically, it's using the body's own energy to answer questions. So we can ask the body, okay, what is your health problem? What is underneath it? And you can put different vials to the person that have just small amounts of common toxicities, common food sensitivities, and then we're testing the body on it. And we're doing that. You kind of do need a demo to show, but people might have actually seen it where someone puts their arm, what you're doing is you're pressing on their arm. They're putting some pressure on to make sure their arm doesn't fall. But if their arm does fall, it means that substance is the issue that is weakening them. If their arm stays strong, it says, okay, don't worry, that's not their issue. And so through this, you can ascertain what the issue is. And so the body itself knows, with the stimuli you're putting on it, what its problem is. It just needs a way to tell us, and it's using an arm strength.
Fabulous, fabulous. Yes, we studied it a little bit, not a lot, and I don't use it much in my work, in hypnotherapy work. I see some of my clients in person, some of them online, but it's really remarkable how your body, somehow your subconscious can have a reaction to things that if you know how to test it and measure it and decipher it, you can do all kinds of things that feel like magic, you know?
Yes, yeah, you don't have to
But
use,
your
yeah,
story here is just amazing. I mean, somebody discovered that it was sucralose and you had no idea you were having it, and then you pull it out and you feel so much better. I mean, this is an important technique that the world needs to recognize and get out because how many people are suffering from medical mysteries? I mean,
correct,
a
yeah.
lot, a lot. And yet, if you know someone like Srinika, you don't have to be. So I just think what you do is amazing, Shrinika.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, a lot of these things, they're labeled, even if they do have a diagnosis, they're labeled as an autoimmune disease or just some label they've thrown on a set of symptoms. It's not really a diagnosis. It's not really telling us, well, what is causing that? So if we don't know what's causing that, how are we actually going to get rid of it? All we can do then is throw some medication or something to just like suppress the symptoms, but we want to know what's causing it so we can get at the root of it and start reversing the issue. So that's what I do. Yeah.
That's pretty fascinating. I love that so, so very much. Um, I would love to know a little bit more. First of all, before we talk about your success stories, because I love this whole medical mystery thing, can you tell us a little bit more about the muscle testing classes that you teach? Because I had this visual of people in the grocery store, doing their own. So I learned it a little bit different. So I did, this was way back in the 80s that I learned it through my Swami mommy. And then what we did is that we went from muscle testing here to muscle testing, using our forefinger and then feeling the resistance so that we can muscle test ourselves. I'm not
Yes.
sure if that still happens because I mean, like I said, it was way back in oh, sorry, it was in the 90s. So, yeah. So, tell us a little bit more about it because um, there are these people in different professions, very professional, that know nothing about it. And if they just had this one little piece, it could make their life so much easier. I mean, they would still be coming to you for medical mysteries, but to just go, hey, like for me, am I having too much dairy? And then muscle test.
Yes.
It's so simple. So can you just a little bit more about how how simple that is to learn and what it takes and that you can use it for so many different things, not just for
Yeah,
sucrose.
how'd you become an expert,
Sucralose.
Shrinika? We want to know.
Yeah. Well, okay. The classes I took were geared towards kind of the nutritional analysis side of things. So, um, we learned first, there's a place in Alameda that is a supplement company. And so they would do muscle testing classes, but it wasn't just about how to actually physically do it. That was just kind of the start, but basically also how to test for vials on people and supplements and things like that. But many people in different professions use it. I think, Michelle, you said, like life coaches sometimes use it to ferret out what is the underlying psychological block behind why someone's not succeeding in this, or things like that. So people use it in different ways. And yes, I started teaching classes in it about 3 years back because it's such a great tool and people can use it on themselves. They don't have to have someone else pressing on their arm. And there's different ways to do it. Cynthia, you mentioned this is like the O-ring method. There's also people can use a pendulum, which is very similar to muscle testing. Some people have this sway method. They hold some food or whatever, and then they sway forward. That's a yes, or backwards. That's a no. So there's a whole bunch of ways the body can let us know what's going on. So in my class, I generally teach, about 4 or 5 different ways people can test themselves, and people can then gravitate towards what feels easiest for them. Usually for starters it's the pendulum, because that always gets a response. What is a yes, what is a no? Okay, put some food and see. So it's a very easy in for people. The other ones, some people will get it right away. Most people, it takes a little time, a little practice. The biggest thing is learning not to doubt yourself so
Yep,
much.
trusting.
Trust, yeah.
Mhm.
Because in the beginning, you're like, am I making that up? Oh, really? I think I want chocolate to be good for me, so I'm testing like a yes for it. All those things. But over time, if you just keep practicing, you'll see that and practicing on neutral things, not things you're like emotionally attached to,
Mhm.
then you'll see that you'll start to trust it, basically.
Well, yes, and you do have to be thoughtful and mindful about how you do this. We had a guy in my class when we were studying, this was back in hypnotherapy school, and we were studying pendulums. And he had played with pendulums before hypnotherapy school and was trying to get them to advise him on how to purchase stocks in the stock market. And he didn't know anything about stocks, and this really wasn't something that his higher self knew how to get to, and he had lost money. So, I think it is something to learn how to do, and I've seen it work. I actually, when I started my practice, I used it more. Now I don't use it that much, but I should probably think about where to revive it, because it's such an eye opener for people, that your subconscious has something to say here, and this is a way to bring it out. I love going into like metaphysical shops and looking for the pretty crystals on the end of the line. But you can make a pendulum out of a necklace.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. Yeah.
um, and it's such a helpful tool. So I just love hearing, Srinika, your stories about these medical mysteries that you have solved. And I loved your personal story of kind of how you got into this. Do you have another story that you'd like to share with us about a client who arrived with a funky medical mystery, and how you solved it and what happened to his or her life?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we could start with kind of one of my first clients who came in for acupuncture. This was when I first started doing muscle testing, and she had chronic migraines for 20 years. Had a neurologist, this, that, on all these medications. I said, let's just take a look. What is it? And I was still practicing then, so I didn't really know if we could figure it out. I didn't have high hopes for myself. I was just starting. And then we figured out pretty quickly, okay, there is mercury that is, the heavy metal mercury stuck in your liver, and this is what's creating your headaches. I tested her on a few supplements that would push out the mercury from her liver. She started on those, and basically her migraines start to go away, and she started to feel a difference even in the course of a couple weeks. And then in a couple months, she didn't really have migraines anymore. And so she was able to get off these medications that weren't really helping her anyways. But yeah, and that was just, it was a kickstart for me. Oh my gosh, this is awesome, So that was in the beginning. Then since then there's been many, many different cases. But recently, about a year ago, someone came in. This was a big case, like bone cancer, basically. And when you have bone cancer, the doctors kind of have written you off. Okay, you're going to die. So they did. She was on chemo, but it wasn't an intense chemo. And but she had come in. Her son had brought her in and said, "Okay, we have nothing to lose because the doctors have just kind of given up on her anyways." So I took a look, and we saw that it was mostly glyphosate, which is also known as Monsanto's Roundup. It's a
Mhm.
weed killer that is in, it's everywhere. It's in wheat, corn. It's in the air. People are landscaping with it. It's kind of the modern DDT, you know. So basically, we said, okay, let's start getting that out of your system. So we did that. She was still on the chemo. The chemo wasn't really doing anything. I was just kind of keeping things from getting terrible, terrible. She had bone cancer for 5 years, actually. You can just kind of live on and on with it, but not in good quality of health. And then, she started getting scans. The bone cancer was going away, in 6 months, gone. So she was so happy. I was just amazed, like, oh my God, this is awesome. So, because I don't see that many people with cancer. Now I do, thanks to her. But, most people with cancer, they kind of are just thinking, okay, just do exactly only what the MD says and, don't come in for any other kind of support. So yeah, that was great. So started out with the migraine and, where I've come to now. So, and many different kinds of cases in between. So,
All right, I'm taking you to my side of the world. All right,
yes.
that's the woo side. When we talk about muscle testing, we call it body's wisdom. It's a type of intuition, right? It's your body's energy looking for right? So if it doesn't sync up, energy goes down. So that's the woo explanation of muscle testing.
Yes.
Okay. So, bringing it back to the third chakra, very much about the digestive system because it is in the solar plexus, but it also has to do with like willpower and personal power and, things that are ego driven, but not when people say ego, it's, they think it's all this heavy, heady stuff, but
Pride.
egos,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. And it's not always prideful in the way that, people think about. So, tell us a little bit about what you're doing and how it helps people on the energetic side. So I know that as they're feeling better, they're getting more energy, but tell us how it's helped them emotionally, how it's helped them, with their business or with their families and things like that.
Yeah, third chakra, I would say is yeah, digestion, liver is a biggie, and that's one of our biggest organs in the body, and then adrenals, which is like you said, willpower or ambition, basically. So I think those are really the two key organs there, liver and adrenals. Um, a lot of my work is about cleaning up the liver. The liver oftentimes comes up as the key organ for most problems.
Right.
And so that's a good foundational place to start, is cleaning up the liver. It's a big filter, and it filters out a lot of toxicity that we're exposed to. So just starting with that alone can really help in terms of and also in Chinese medicine, liver holds on to anger. Anger affects the liver, but then also when a clogged liver can create kind of anger. So getting rid of a lot of suppressed anger and rage simply by clearing up the liver through diet or supplements or avoiding certain exposures can just release a lot of anger. It doesn't mean that people suddenly start having temper tantrums. It just releases it gently so that people aren't so suppressed,
Right.
basically.
Right.
And that frees up a lot of energy, because a lot of our energy does get tied up in just resentment and past, and so that itself frees up a lot of energy. Doing that, a lot of times the adrenals, just cleaning up the liver, the adrenals start to come back, basically. You've probably heard the term adrenal fatigue. It is very common. We're just in a constant fight or flight mode. A lot of it's just due to emotional stress, so the adrenals kind of have to work so hard. So getting rid of, cleaning up the liver, actually in and of itself helps the adrenals and starts to um, boost their power, basically. And through that, people also feel, oh, I have more energy. I can do more things. I can sleep better. a whole cascade of things can happen, just cleaning up the liver, and then, by proxy, kind of helping the adrenals. And yes, so people can get more things done in their life and just generally feel better, just more alive, and all of that.
I love that so much. And with that, with the cleaning up, to me, autoimmune is such a huge um, field. Everything seems to be autoimmune.
Right.
And it still feels very mysterious to me because it's autoimmune affects this way, autoimmune affects that way. Can you talk a little bit more about how you work with people with autoimmune disease? And because you know, the people I've noticed with autoimmune, they're incredibly hard workers. They tend to be a little bit more like type A or
Mm.
perfectionists, things like that, energetically. Um, can you tell me what that usually affects, or if it just is all over, it's a wide range and our language hasn't caught up with the different things that are happening within our body? I know I'm
Hmm.
asking you like five questions in one.
Okay, yes. All
So,
right. So, yes, with the kind of type A person, that does produce a lot of stress in the body. And again, the liver has to filter out stress hormones, cortisol. So, again, it can result a little bit in a clogged liver, which can result in many different kinds of problems. I kind of don't like the term autoimmune because it keeps things in this mysterious
right.
realm, and also makes it sound like, well, there's nothing you can do about it. Your body is just stupidly attacking itself. I have not seen that's actually the case. The body is trying to, most of these things are toxicity based, and the body is trying to rid itself of toxicity, and it can't. It's just not able to do it fully. And even in trying to do so, it's creating some symptoms, some inflammatory symptoms. So with autoimmune disease, again, it's just the same thing. Well, what's the underlying cause? And then, a lot of times it's heavy metals, chemicals, certain food sensitivities, that are just inflaming the body. So we figure out how to minimize those coming in, and then how to get those out, help the body get those out. And these so-called autoimmune symptoms start to calm down because the body now has support in getting better, and it doesn't have to try so hard. A lot of skin problems might be considered autoimmune, like psoriasis, or sometimes even like rosacea is considered autoimmune. It's the body is trying to get something out through the skin. The liver can't quite get it out through your digestive tract, so it's using another method. It's trying through the skin. So we're just trying to say, okay, liver, let's support you. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's figure out what to give you to start getting that out. And then these skin things start to calm down because the liver can now get it out through the bile and through your digestive system and poop it out, versus it trying to come out through the skin so much. So that would be an example of, autoimmune issues that just require a little bit of targeted detox.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, I think that's really fascinating as you're talking about this. There's just so many people out there who don't know what's going on, and we are surrounded in a world of poisons.
Hmm.
And I mean, I think that most people are good. Most people didn't really think about what glyphosate might do to all these other people, or what sucralose might do to certain people, or whatever. Like, I think actually intentions are usually pretty good, in terms of kind of the culture or the society. But the human body, we are making change happen at a pace that humanity has probably never made happen before. And so it comes with a certain amount of like, yeah, but that doesn't work for everybody, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
work for everybody. And I just love what you're doing and you're advocating here, Srinika. It's such an important process. I mean, one of the things that comes up too. Last night I taught my SOS stop overeating sugar class, and there's just so many choices on the shelves. How do we pick the ones that are going to work for us, right? And I love that you can be a person to help someone go, no, for you, real sugar is going to be better than fake sugar. Or for
Hmm.
you, you need this versus that, because it's not as simple as one size fits all. It's just not.
Right. Yeah, everyone's a little bit different, their constitution, what their exposures are.
And
Yeah.
and how are you going to figure it out?
Yeah.
When it's yourself, you can only do so much to self-analyze, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
An
exactly.
objective person uh, is very helpful and important.
I love the work that you do. I'm super grateful. I wish my both my parents passed from cancer,
Mm,
and I wish that we had that kind of information. It was 10 years ago, so that information wasn't the same, it's
mm-hmm.
and whether or not they would have passed anyway, I'm sure it would have been much more gentle and not as painful as it was. So, love the work, love what you're doing, and I love that the way that you explain things.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
so, because you have so much good stuff, how in the hell are people going to get a hold of you? What do you have going on, and how can people connect?
Sure. Let's see. Well, just people wanted to have more information. My website has many things on it, including blogs on different topics and also my contact info. So it's Srinika at srinikahealing.com,
Okay,
Srinika. At oh sorry, my website is srinikahealing.com. Yeah, Srinika healing.com. So
love it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Srinika. We've both just loved this conversation, learned so much more about you and your practice, and now this word can be shared with so many others. So please, if you are listening to this and this has been helpful for you, or you think of someone you know who maybe has a medical mystery going on and wants a little bit more information, please check out Srinika's website and contact her and see if she could be of assistance. We are Mind Power Meets Mystic. I am Michelle Walters, the Mind Power Junkie, joined here with my co-host Cynthia Varkevisser. We got lots going on, so please have a look at our websites. And if you could, please like and follow our show. It makes a huge difference to how we get this message out to more people. That wraps this week's episode of Mind Power Meets Mystic. Bye-bye.